The holiday season is here, and that means we are wrapping up 2024. I mean, look around the player. It's just all festive up in here, and we need some festive activities because 2024, you were so raggedy. I blame you for this, Cat Williams. I'm putting this on your head. But I'm going to refrain from my grinchiness, my usual grinchiness, even though I've got on the green, because today we are here to do what y'all know and love. It's the end of the year, so it's time to recap the best albums of the year. I listened to 239 albums, mixtapes, LPs, EPs, playlists, whatever you want to call them these days, those weird SoundCloud links, to bring to you the 25 best projects of the year. This is my gift to you. Shout out to Alexander O'Neal. So come along, 2024 was a mess, but it's time to get to the good stuff with the best albums of the year. Well, players, thank you for joining us for yet again another edition of the Soul and Stereo Sessions. The most special time of year comes with the best albums of the year. I'm not going to waste too much time because we got a bunch of albums to get through, y'all. So before we get going, let me go through my spiel. If you're here for the first time, thank you so much. You're about to get put on game. And while you're here, make sure you hit the like button on this video. It means a lot to you, boy. Also, if you haven't already, if you're one of those lurkers, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing. According to my analytics, there's a bunch of y'all who come every month to check these videos out, but you haven't subscribed yet. What part of the game is that? All you have to do is hit the subscribe button. It means a lot to me. And if you enjoy this video or you need to put the music fans in your life on to the good stuff, be sure to share the video after you check it out. Means a lot to your boy. A holiday gift to me, so to speak. So, yes, today we are talking about the best albums of the year. This will include hip-hop. This will include R&B. This will include some other genres that will surprise you. And some people were like, why did you waste your time listening to so much music this year? Player, I will tell you exactly why. Because I have to be authentic. I have to give you an authentic music experience. Some of these lists that y'all love sharing of the 10 best albums of the year, they listen to like 14 albums. That's not a good composite. I listen to as much music as I can so I can pick and choose, find the hidden gems, find the ones that are underutilized, overlooked, and present with you a full, robust list. So, if your favorite didn't make the list, I probably heard it. You probably just weren't good enough. Do better next time. But this list will have a bunch of albums that you may not have heard of, artists you may not be familiar with. So take this opportunity to get something new on those playlists. I'm going to put you on. But enough stalling. No further ado. Let's get to the 2024 best albums of the year. Top 25. Let's get it. Alright, coming in at number 25, maybe last on the list, but not last in our hearts, Yolanda Adams' Sunny Days. Yes, we getting some gospel up in here, and we should because it's the Lord's season, so deal with that. I'm a big fan of Yolanda, and it's interesting to realize that there was a time where it felt like she was putting out an album every single year. Every Grammys, every year she was nominated, like she was just back to back to back. It was, if Yolanda was putting out an album, it was getting nominated for a Grammy. This is her first album in 13 years. She's been doing other projects, but she's back like she never left. The album is per a Yolanda project. Very inspiring, very hopeful, very energetic. She's giving you like she always has way back in the late 90s, early 2000s. This is kind of her return to that peak era, and I think this project works very, very well. Of course, it got lost in the shuffle with a lot of other stuff because 2024 was the year of hate, but goodness, this album, if you're looking for some good some worship, you need some good worship music, you need something to inspire you, this is the album for you. Yolanda Adams, Sunny Days, back like she never left. In at number 24 is the surprise of the list, Mario, Glad You Came. Some of you probably didn't know he had an album out, and that's because this album dropped right before I created this list. I had to wedge this one on at the last minute. Every year there's somebody on CP Time that comes sneaking across the line at the last minute, and that's what this one was. But I was glad he came on this list. I should have thought that through before I said that. Anyway, the point is, this album is one of Mario's best projects in a long time. Of course, in the early 2000s, he had his big run, and he's really fondly remembered for those hits today. But the more recent stuff is a little more hit and miss. Here, he's embracing his maturity. It sounds like a throwback to 70s soul, and he's not trying to do the hip-hop thing. He's not trying to be something he isn't. He is just being a mature adult, because even though he's been in the game a long, long time, he still isn't quite 40 yet. He's still like late 30s, so he's still got some ways to go, but he embraces his maturity until pretending that he's 19 again. And that's a good thing. The music shines. James Fauntleroy does a great job with the production. This was a pleasant surprise and one of Mario's best albums of all time, pretty late in his career. Always a triumph. Coming in number 23, Lupe Fiasco and Samurai. If you joined us a few months back when we did the best albums of the half year, this is one of those that were featured. We'll have a few more that make the list who kind of survived the whole year. But this, of course, is one of Lupe's, and Lupe never misses when it comes to an album of the year list. If you enjoyed his last project, Drill Music in Zion, this is kind of more the same. It still has that jazzy feel, that stripped down feel where it's not over the top production. It's just him telling stories in the most intricate way possible. I love the samurai theme because if you know him, that man loves his anime and he loves his martial arts. He could probably behead me with a katana in real life because the man knows what he's doing. But he can also behead you with those lyrics in real life. Sharp, sharp lyricism, one of the best lyricists of his era, and this album will continue to push that legacy forward. Another great project from my guy. I love to see that he is continuing his career despite some missteps early on. He's still bringing the heat. Alright, and at number 22, it's Seafood Sam, Standing on Giant Shoulders. I'm kind of late to the Seafood party, as I've talked about before. He's been around a while, but a friend of mine introduced me to his music, and I was like, man, the production is crazy. This is like Rick Ross level production, except I actually care what he's rapping about. Look at this. Well, wonders never cease. But I love what he brings to the game. He has a maturity to his delivery and his lyrics, but also that production is just so soulful, so smooth. If you like the beats of Rick Ross, or if you like the beats of a Currency, that type of just immaculate production, decadent almost like a rich chocolate cake. That's what the production feels like, and he has a smooth delivery that just pushes everything forward. A true underrated gem of the year, but one that still stands kind of ahead of its pack. Is one of those hip-hop albums that might slide under your radar, but get your radar up. You need to hear this one. Up next at number 21 is Why Lord. I love that title. No Worries, of course, Anderson .Paak and Knowledge. The last time these two came together, it became one of those hidden gems of his era. Everybody loved Yes Lord, but this is Why Lord, and Why Lord is a little bit more introspective. It's more, instead of kind of Anderson .Paak's zaniness and wackiness, this one's a little bit more inward thinking, kind of thinking about relationships and figuring out how to navigate them. So it's a little bit more of a mature feel than kind of the stuff from Silk Sonic era where it's just, I don't want to say slapstick, but you can tell he's having a ball with it. This one is a little bit more thoughtful. But all of the elements that make those other projects so great are very strong here. Pac is so good at everything he's done. I don't know if I mentioned this on this forum, but in my opinion, the greatest, yes, I've been to many concerts in my very old age, and the best concert I have ever attended was Silk Sonic, Anderson .Paak, and Bruno Mars. Absolutely blew me away with their collective showmanship. That showmanship is right here in this album. You can see it in the album. And again, this is a more pulled back, more thoughtful and introspective Anderson .Paak, and that works very well to see the evolution of his craft. This one was highly anticipated, and it lived up to its really the lofty standards of the previous album. We were excited, and my boy came through and delivered. Good project. Coming in at number 20, this is a surprise for me and I love it. Freeway and Jake One, The Stimulus Package Part 2. So if you were around back in the early 2010s, actually, let me not even go to the 2010s. Let me go to the early 2000s in the reign of Rockefeller Records and State Property. Freeway was one of those artists with Beanie Siegel that was just always around, and it seemed like they were always poised to blow up to do bigger things. And they both seem like they kind of hit the glass ceiling a little bit. They got some great albums, great projects, but they never truly broke out in the way that I thought that they should. But in 2010, we had Jake One team up with Freeway for The Stimulus Package 1, a great project, very underrated. And since then, Freeway has taken a backseat. He's had some health issues, had some family stuff going on. So I had no idea that we were getting a sequel to this album that's well over a decade old at this point. But it doesn't matter because my boy is back. Jake One's back on the production. The guest stars are incredible. You got Jadakiss and Petey Crack and everybody from the era that made Freeway so incredible. And I love Freeway's delivery. One of the best deliveries in modern hip-hop history, in my opinion. He doesn't lose a step. He's still doing it. So even though he's had some challenges, it's great to see him back to form. And this project is one we didn't see coming, but I'm so glad we got it. Truly one of the, well, yet another one of the underrated gems of the year. I'm here to put you on. Coming in at number 19 is Ab-Soul, my boy Solo, and Soul Burger. So I've been a big fan of Ab-Soul for a long time. Back when we had Black Hippie and TDE in that era, this was the guy that I thought was next up. We always knew Kendrick was going to be great, and everybody loved Schoolboy Q. I was like, nah, Ab-Soul is the one. And when he dropped Control System back in like 2012, I was like, oh man, this dude is next up. But like we talked about with Freeway, he had a few personal things that pulled him away, that kind of derailed a lot of the momentum he had. In this case, his friend Doe Burger, who passed away, and this album is a dedication to him. So if you know Ab-Soul, the best thing about Soul is that he is able to have this very intricate flow. He almost changes cadences mid-verse. It's hard to describe, but when you hear it, it can be jarring, but it's so brilliant. Like, the dude is such a brilliant lyricist, in some ways rivaling even Kendrick in the way that he can just hop out of flows just here and there, and his lyricism is top notch. Of course, it's every Ab-Soul project. It gets very heavy, it gets very deep, especially considering the circumstances around the album. He's a very thoughtful dude, he's a very emotional dude, and that weight carries throughout the project. But you can also tell that he's ready to break out. It was a huge year for West Coast hip hop, as we will talk about later on. And he's one of those artists that helped kind of get it revived as far as his career. This was the perfect time to drop this album. I'm so glad to hear he's back. I'm so glad to see that he's at top 4. Not quite Control System level, but pretty good. A great project, and I'm a huge fan of Ab, so keep it coming, homie. Alright, coming in at number 18 is Killer Mike, and let me get this right so I don't mess it up. Killer Mike, Michael and the Mighty Midnight Revival, Songs for Sinners and Saints. I think I got all that. It's a lot. Well, I am, of course, no question if you know me, big Outkast fan, and that means that by proxy, I became a big Killer Mike fan, and I was so happy when his last album, Michael, won a Grammy. I'm like, the Grammy's actually getting it right, and we not just giving stuff to Ice Spice just because? I love it here. That project deserved the love it got. It did not deserve the hate it got from the idiot trolls on Twitter, but, you know, Twitter's kind of a cesspool. Enough about that. Let's talk about actual dope stuff. And that project was dope because it was able to pull from the gospel past that he has and his upbringing. He took those beats and just basically went rampaged over them. This is kind of the spiritual sequel to that, where it also has a lot of that gospel influence. Not totally, it isn't as heavy as that one, but it is kind of the successor of that. And because, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, it still works again this time. He's still talking about the family issues that kind of plagued him before, but he also has that Grammy win behind him. So he's as confident as ever, as cocky as ever, he's as brash as ever, but he's as thoughtful as ever. If you really enjoyed the first project or you missed it, do yourself a favor. You got to catch up with this one. It's not quite to the level of Michael, but it's still very good and a worthy contender for number 18 on our illustrious list. Alright, coming in number 17 is Denzel Curry, the King of the Mischievous South, Volume 2. Y'all killing me with these titles this year. Mouthful. Anyway, Denzel is another artist who is great at what he does, but never seems to quite break out of the pack. He's been around a minute. I remember his album Zoo is the one that really blew me away. And he takes from so many Southern influences. A lot of times we'll see artists who come from a region and they sound like that region of the South. Because let me tell y'all, if y'all don't know, the South is not a monolith. I'm from Virginia. I'm currently living in Birmingham. Both of them are Southern, but both are completely different types of Southern. And what Denzel Curry does is he takes pieces from Miami and Memphis and Texas and Atlanta and just does his own thing. So this mixtape almost feels like a homage to all of the different sounds of the South, because there is not one Southern sound. You can put it like this. 3-6 doesn't necessarily sound like Miami bass. Doesn't sound like Future. Like, they all sound completely different. He kind of takes all of them. It's this big Southern celebration. And he's such a fiery, energetic performer. This actually, I think it's a mixtape. I was going to say it's an album. I think it's a mixtape. This project has a ton of guest stars, but whenever Denzel gets on that track and starts Tasmanian deviling his way all over the beat, you know who's in charge, you know whose project this is. He continues to shine. I think that there is room for him to be an even bigger star, so we'll see if this project is that launching pad. It should be. Alright, in at number 16, our boy Tyrese and Beautiful Pain. Now, before somebody's like, oh, Tyrese, your boy. Look, I know the history. I have had complaints about Tyrese many, many times over the years. Not as an artist, I'm talking about his extracurricular activities and the nonsense that comes there. I have never doubted his artistry, and that's why this project is one of his best in a very long time, because it's about the artistry. Although it is kind of about the drama. Because Beautiful Pain is basically a heartbreaking love letter to all of his relationship woes. And we all know nothing makes better music than heartbreak. And that's what this album is. But what it does well is it takes a 70s soul twist. This album sounds like it was recorded in 1976. And that's not a diss. That's a good thing, because his voice is so rich and pretty underrated for what he can accomplish. And he uses that to create this very soulful, thoughtful, heavy atmosphere that's not really like music that we hear today as far as R&B. R&B just is usually inflected with a lot of hip hop and things of that nature. But this one feels like it was plucked from like the Stax era or the Motown era, and it works very, very well because he has the talent to let it shine. Again, I will warn you, This ain't one you want to put on before you go to the club because it's heavy. It's sad. And the songs are very long too. These days when y'all got your 2-minute songs that has like, you got a hook, you got one verse, you got another hook, and then the song ends, like no. We've got long, rich 6 and 7 minute tracks up and down that. And again, it's a good thing because it feels like R&B the way it used to be. I love this project. And if Tyrese, you keep this up, I won't be on your back so much, player. I like this. Coming in at number 15 is Marv 1, I'm Fine, Thanks for Asking. Here's another album we covered last time, and it's good enough that it landed on number 15 on the list. Yes, it's still that dope. He is a veteran from Detroit, and one of those guys that if you aren't paying attention to the underground scene, or if you just aren't a native of that area, you probably don't even know him. But the dude's been at it probably longer than y'all have been alive that are watching this YouTube video. He is a veteran of the game. And I love it because he's able to paint such vivid pictures with his lyrics. I love the song Nosy, where he's talking about his mom, like going through his stuff, and he can't hustle like he wants to because his mom is all that. Like that type of realistic storytelling, it just captures me because it's like, I mean, look, could it be totally fabricated? It could be. But it's so realistic that you can picture him trying to do all this stuff and then mom walking in the room. He got to hide this and that. That's the type of storytelling I feel like we don't have in hip-hop today because storytelling is usually not at a premium unless you're talking about a few artists. But he's able to craft these stories, to use his imagination, to put together these things, and of course, incredible lyricists as well. So you marry all that together, you have a very strong, extremely underrated project. If you like storytelling, if you like just lyricism on a level that's creative and witty and fun and not too heavy and dense, but also makes you think, also makes you, hit them shoulders a little bit every once in a while, this is one for you. I really recommend it. Again, another one that flew under the radar. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Don't miss the good stuff. Shout out to Marv. This is dope. Coming in at number 14, Benny the Butcher, Everybody Can't Go. Benny, of course, has become almost like the face of the Griselda movement. And it's almost like their Method Man, their version of Method Man in the 90s, because even though he has that grittiness that makes Griselda Griselda, he also has the charisma and the energy to take it to another level commercially. And that's what Everybody Can't Go does. It's continuing his evolution into just like underground boom bap guy, which we always try to make a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's like telling me ice cream is bad. Like, no, it's delicious. Boom bap is delicious. So he is able to do that, but he's not going to be stuck in that box. He's going to navigate and he's going to go out a little bit. And I love his storytelling. As again, you can tell by this list, I love me some good storytelling albums. And his song, Jermaine's Graduation, probably my favorite hip hop song of the year. Since like January, February. I've been rocking this song for 12 months. Incredible song and a great project. Probably not the level of his best projects, but of all of the Griselda offerings that we've gotten this year, by far the one that stands out the most. So Benny rarely misses, and this is another win for our guy. The Butcher coming! Alright, in at number 13 is probably one some of y'all missed, but that's why I'm here. Shay Noir, The Lotus Child. So Shay is 3 for 3. This is her third project. She kind of emerged, at least I came onto her in the pandemic era in 2020 with As God Intended with Apollo Brown. I was blown away. I'm like, this girl is dope. And she's continued to build upon that with Food for Thought and this her third project. So 2024 to me has really shined with female MCs. And we'll get to more later on. We got a lot of dopeness from Glorilla and Megan. And the thing that I think has helped these artists really come to the forefront is that for the longest time, there has been a template for what a female MC should be to succeed. And don't get me wrong, I have no problem with people singing about sex. My favorites are Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown. I'm not scared of the draws. But I do get tired of this template where everyone sounds the same, everyone's rapping the same, everyone's using the same cadence. That's not hip-hop. Shay is hip-hop because she uses her intensity. She uses her storytelling. Her songs are dark, and she is spitting. She's out spitting the dudes on her guest list. And that confidence through her energy to just continue to tell stories, to be able to push through and to be authentically herself is what really makes this album shine. It's dark, but it's dark in a hopeful way. It's not dark in a depressing way. And of all her projects, you know, I was going to say this might be her best. I might put it behind As God Intended. Regardless, it's one that really shines this year and puts the forefront on female hip hop to show that there can be more than one type. So yeah, shout out to Meg, shout out to Glow. They're on my list as well. We'll talk about that later on. They made it a little bit further down the list. But when it comes to the best of the best, Shay's up there. Coming in at number 12, one of the most anticipated of the year, Common and Pete Rock, The Auditorium Volume 1. There was no way this was gonna miss. Well, I hate to say there was no way, because every time we say there's no way, somebody disappoints me. This was no disappointment. You got Common, one of the greatest MCs of all time, in my opinion. It's funny how we don't think of him that way just because he doesn't have a lot of high-profile singles and he's not always visible. So I think that's why he gets pushed down the list due to the commercialness of it. But if you look at his roster of albums, if they ain't 5 stars, they're close to 5 stars. Classic songs, classic verses, a consistency over decades. He really is in the conversation. It's one of the best of all time. And then Pete Rock, look, y'all know the resume. If you don't know the resume, Google is your friend, because yet another legendary producer, sometimes rapper, but of course legendary producer. These two come together, it's a perfect match, because you have Common, who is so lyrically inclined. You have Pete Rock, who is not going to be trendy, but going to give us the soulfulness and the grittiness that we need to marry it with Common's thoughtfulness. And you have an incredible project. This is a blueprint, in my opinion, for veterans who are looking to elevate their game while staying true to themselves. So many veteran hip-hop artists, when they kind of make a comeback, they're like, well, let me do what the kids are doing. You are not a kid, and sir, your fan base is not a kid, so why are you talking to a bunch of people that don't want to hear from you? These two are being authentic to themselves, being authentic to their audience, and produce an album, in my opinion, that's one of Common's best in a long time. And when I started ranking them, it might be kind of high on the list too. An incredible project between two artists who know each other, who are able to find common ground, and to, hey, I saw what I did there, common ground. And to create something that is very appealing to their masses. That's what makes this project important. Their masses. And we appreciate them for it. At number 11, we're getting close to the top 10, but right outside of the top 10 is Layla Hathaway, Vanta Black. I love saying Vanta Black. Yep, this album was on our previous list as well, and it made it all the way up to number 11 because it truly is one of the best R&B releases of the year. I like this project because Layla says, I am going to be authentically black as I want to be. Vanta Black apparently is like the blackest color of blackness, and so that's what this project is. Authentic black woman being authentic. I love it. And she is such a great vocalist that is able to push through, and she's able to tell these stories vocally at the highest level. These songs sound tremendous. The production is great. And if you're looking for a more traditional R&B performance, not necessarily traditional like Tyrese or Mario that sound kind of throwback, but traditional as in modern, but using the traditional techniques, you know, actually vocalizing, stacking them vocals, strong writing. This is a project that would appeal to the modern, more adult R&B fan who's looking for something besides somebody that's half rapping or asleep. Thank you, Layla, for giving us that R&B we need. And thank you for this project because it's one that really helps not only just black women, but as a black man, y'all teaching me about stuff. I love that you can be as authentic as you can in your music, and it helps me be as authentic as I can when I'm living my life. It's one that's not only entertaining, but empowering as well. Layla is our girl. Top 10 time it is, and we're coming in at number 10 with Slum Village and Fun. So Slum Village, look y'all, Slum Village has been around like, gosh, they've had more lineup changes than Drew Hill and the New World Order combined. Like every time you look, they got some new members. We down to 2 here. We got TJ and RJ, well T3 and RJ. And the album that they describe as Fun is exactly that. These are 2 dudes who are confident in being the old men at the club, and we just having fun. Look at me dance, look at me have a good time, and you're gonna have a good time with them. Of course, it's Slum Village, so when you think of Slum Village, you think of that Jay Dilla inspired production, which I love, of course, I love that. But this is different. They wanted to present a different side of their artistry, and it really works. I am all for artists branching out. And true to its nature, we have a very fun project that still has the elements of hip-hop, that are still very hard and strong, very strong with their hard lyricism, and able to present an atmosphere that's just so enjoyable. You just throw this album on and you just have, you know, in a word, fun with it. I love it. It's one that I heard very early on in this year. It has not left my playlist since. Hence the number 10 ranking. And again, it's another one of those that I think a lot of people missed. Last time out when I put it, they were like, Slum Village has an album? Yes. Now you have no excuse because I've talked about it twice to get some fun in your life. Check it out. In at number 9, it is Tyler the Creator and Chromacopia. So my fandom of Tyler has really changed over the years, and I guess that's a good thing. When he started out and he was eating roaches, I'm like, what is this? What is this? What am I watching? It was just like a kid whose mom went on vacation and he's just running amok in the house. But even with his shock value silliness, if you paid attention, I could tell that it was like some real art. Like, dude could spit. Like, there was some real artistry there. Some of the songs were like really thoughtful, even if you look past a lot of the goofy videos and the shock value and saying weird stuff to make people mad. If you actually listen to the artistry, I'm like, you know, there's something here. And by the time we got albums like Wolf and especially Call Me If You Get Lost, which I still think is his best project, you could see him growing as an artist. And here we have a concept album. In my opinion, a lot of people, I was surprised at the mixed reaction to this album, even from Tyler fans, and I think it's because they just kind of didn't get it. In my view, what this album is very much a view and a discussion of this country's ridiculous stan culture and celebrity worship. There is a lot of that here, and Tyler pushes back against it in 2 ways. He's looking at the way where he feels pressure to be this person, and he's trying not to be the person that he's talking about. He's not trying to fall into it. And then, of course, he talks about difficult family issues, a lot of things that make Tyler Tyler. If you look beyond the histrionics and look at what he is as a core, he's a very sensitive artist with a lot to say and a lot of bright ideas. Now, I'm making this album sound really heavy and deep. It is, but it isn't, because he's got some joints. That song Sticky, oh my gosh. I'm not surprised that Sticky song isn't just blasting 24/7. I heard that and I'm like, this is going to be an inescapable hit in 2024. Probably going into 2025. But definitely if you go to a HBCU, because the band's going to be playing that song forever. So he has the hits, but he also has some really heavy themes talking about the world at large. There's a reason why he's wearing that mask over in the album cover right there. This is one that's really deep. Might not hit the same for everybody, but I thought it was a creative win and a great way for him to continue to show he's an artist who is evolving. Number 8 is Doechii and Alligator Bites Never Heal. I am so happy for Doechii. She has been around for a while. I've seen y'all call her an industry plant. First of all, you don't know what that word means. Let me explain to you what an industry plant means for those who don't get it. An industry plant is someone who was literally planted in a position that they are unworthy of by the industry. An industry plant is not an artist who has been grinding for years, who finally finds a breakout moment and is able to capitalize on it. And when she capitalizes on it, yeah, the label's gonna get behind her. That's not an industry plant. That is hard work paying off. Doechii's Alligator Bites Never Heal, the tiny desk that we're seeing, the love that we're seeing is hard work paying off. This isn't somebody with no talent placed in a position that they can't possibly be in, and we have to use industry bells and whistles that make them look like a big deal. I could name names, but it's a season of giving, so I'm chilling right now. And we're talking about Doechii, and we're talking about this incredible project. This project to me was not one I was expecting. After What It Is blew up, a song I love by the way, it's like she was like, I'm not doing that at all. I'm not doing any of the catchy R&B type stuff. I'm hitting y'all with lyrics, and boy, the woman knows how to spit, and she has something to say. It's a project where you see these different levels of her game, whether it is just straight lyricism or it is more introspectiveness. And yeah, we get some of that, you know, the melodious stuff thrown in there as well, but it's not just a straight up singing for radio. I love that she's showing that she's got more in her toolbox than just one thing. This album, I think it was technically a mixtape. We calling it a project because you can't keep them straight these days. But it is absolutely one of the best, and one of those artists that I was talking about earlier who is breaking out of the box of what a female rapper is and showing that it can be whatever you want to be. There's a reason why my favorite of all time is Missy Elliott. She can show you that she can be anything, and Doechii is the evolution of that style. Love this project, and I cannot wait to get her debut album next year. Mark my words, it's probably going to be on this list for 2025. Coming in at number 7 is LL Cool J, The Force. Another album I was very, very excited to have on this list. So we talked about Common a little earlier, artists who are legends in the game and coming back and finding themselves. LL, in my opinion, I know LL caused a little bit of controversy recently when he named himself the most important rapper of all time. And people, oh my God, oh, he... Think and listen, because there is a lot of truth to that statement, and he may be totally right. LL Cool J is the template of the mainstream rapper. The radio song, the girl song, the look, the shirtless look, but being able to battle rap and defeat people with battle raps, but to be able to have songs on the radio and still have hard-hitting street records on the same project. LL was doing that before anybody. The template of a star today starts with LL Cool J. He might be right. He may be the most important rapper of all time. He's certainly one of the most influential. But this album kind of even pushes away against that, because this isn't an album that I expected. When it came out, I thought this was going to be him reminding us that I can do everything. No. This album is, I'm going to remind y'all that I can spit anybody under the table. He gets with Q-Tip, yet another veteran, to do the beats behind the boards. This man is rapping like I have never heard him rap since, even in the 80s, he wasn't rapping like this. He is like a machine. He is just going absolutely bonkers on these records. And it's insane that a man who has been in the game that long can raise his level of lyricism that high. This might be the best lyrically he has ever sounded, which is insane to say. But he is absolutely blowing it out of the water. He's rapping with reckless abandon. This project is incredibly produced. I can't say enough good things about it. Yet another example of a veteran coming back and showing and proving that they never lost it. If you are truly a great, you will always be a great. No matter what the the atmosphere is at the time or the hip hop climate. Because if you got the talent, you can find a way. LL might be acting, he might be licking his lips while he's hosting award shows, but he might be the most important rapper of all time. This album proves it. Hey, cuz. Think you posted the wrong photo, cuz. Ain't no way, cuz. No, that is not a typo, homie. That is absolutely true. Number 6 is Sabrina Carpenter, Short and Sweet. I know y'all are like, why do you have this little pop girl on this list with all these hip hoppers, all these singers, even a gospel artist? Well, it's on my list because it's my list, number 1. But number 2, because if I look at the albums I listened to this year, this one probably got more spins than everything. And number 3, the reason why it's on this list is because I know everyone knows the Espresso song. You may or may not have feelings about it. I kind of love that song. But if you look at this album, not the entire album, but it's very, very, very clear that this album was molded in the image of late 90s, early 2000s R&B. When I listen to songs like Bed Kim, I hear Tamia, I'm hearing Black, I'm hearing 3LW, I'm hearing Destiny's Child in their pop era. She is able to take these elements of hip hop, of R&B, that some of our R&B artists are abandoning because they're chasing hip hop. Y'all letting the recipes go away. And that's, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. Y'all not using the recipes? Let your girl cook. Let her cook. And she cooked on this album. The album itself, of course, is a blend of a lot of sounds. It's got the pop stuff. It's got the country sound and stuff. Of course, I'm leaning very heavily toward the hip hop stuff. But I'm just very impressed at the way that she's nimbly able to jump between these genres. She's got a decent voice. And of course, the sticking part is her just... This child is petty. She is just the pettiest thing. She is a freaky little girl and she's petty. And the way that she writes her humor into these bars makes every song so interesting. So every song is fun. And I'll say this, I know a lot of the parents like took their children to go see her at the show and they're like, oh my gosh, she's singing about sex. Listen to the songs, lady. Yep, that girl is singing about sex. She knows what she knows, but she's a grown woman, so she can do that. I thoroughly enjoy this album. And for everyone who is curling up their eyebrows going all the way up here, seeing that this is on the list, I stand by what I say. Check it out. I promise you, you will find at least 2 songs that you will be like, oh, I didn't know she was doing it like that. Yeah, man, she doing it like that. I love this album. I don't know if the next project from Sabrina will even sound like this. It may be an Ariana Grande situation where the first album was very R&B, then she blew up and she just started doing the pop stuff all the time. That could very well be the case here. But for what I got, I'm going to celebrate it. I love this album. Sabrina, man, you won me over this year. Alright, before we hit the top 5, we're going to take a moment. My man D Roth is going to show you some honorable mentions. So, over on soulandstereo.com, I have a list of the 50 best albums of the year from that 239 that I listened to. We weren't going to do 50 albums here because y'all attention span not strong enough and my voice is not going to hold up. So we did the top 25 here. We're going to show you a few honorable mentions that made that full list. And if you want to see the full list of 50, make sure you go to soulandstereo.com. I got them all here. But in the meantime, let me whet your appetite. D Roth, show them the honorable mentions. Alright, up at number 5 is Freddie Gibbs' You Only Die Once. So, a few years ago, not too long ago, it was around the time of his last project, I made hip-hop Twitter mad because, you know, that's all I do is irritate people, apparently. Especially when y'all see Sabrina on this list. But anyway, They were annoyed when I made the post that said, I think it's time to consider Freddie Gibbs as one of the best rappers of this moment. And people went nuts because they weren't looking at Freddie Gibbs the rapper. They were looking at Freddie Gibbs the personal stuff that's always in the business. Like, oh, Freddie takes too many L's. I'm like, I don't care what he's doing in his personal life. It's not bleeding over into the music. Like, he does some weird stuff going on personally, but he's not talking crazy in this realm of hip hop. All I see is spitting. So I can judge the spit. And in terms of actual quality albums and content and delivery, that man is absolutely one of the best. His last album I thought was good. I thought it was a little bit of a step back. He tried to do a little bit of mainstream stuff that didn't quite fit. This one is a little bit more authentic Freddie to me. And the thing that I love about Freddie is not only is he a great lyricist, that man is a master, a student of the game of R&B, which you know is so near and dear to my heart. We got samples from 112. We got samples from Tony. And he is just going crazy on them. And it makes everything so good. I have no beef with a sample if it's used correctly and used expertly. And those are done well here. Plus, Freddie is just, say what you want about him, you cannot say anything bad about his ability to command himself in the booth. Great. There's not a weak song here. Everything flows well. Everything is delivered at the highest order. There's kind of a subtext of the album where he's kind of battling with the devil and he's like the temptation and he's struggling with becoming an actor and kind of moving away from hip hop. So that's kind of the overall theme. And it works okay. But just if we're talking about actual lyricism and the actual songs themselves, these even stand stronger than that overall narrative throughout the album. I love this project. I love Freddie. I know some of y'all like, oh, Freddie did this and his baby mama did that. As long as they keep it in the house, I don't care. Just keep giving me the dope albums. And coming in at number 4, you knew it had to be here somewhere. Beyonce, Cowboy Carter. I had to pause to see if the wife was going to jump in. I guess she's busy. It's so funny that people always say that like, oh my God, you hate Beyonce. Never that. I am a huge Beyonce fan. Specifically Destiny's Child. I love what she does. I just don't think everything she does is the greatest thing ever. Sorry, Renaissance fans. That joint was just alright. But this, I think, even beats Renaissance. Because I know the Cowboy Carter country aesthetic kind of threw some people off. There was controversy about, oh, is this even a real country album? I can't tell you if it's a real country album. I'm not a country fan. And if you aren't a country fan who knows the country genre, don't be speaking on it. Just like people who are hip-hop fans, don't be speaking on hip-hop. You don't know what you're talking about. I can only judge this for what I like, and I like it. The country elements are well done. The songwriting is well done. For the first time in like forever, we're getting Beyonce actually singing again. And not just on one song. Like she's actually showcasing the vocals that I love, that I never hear. And it makes me so sad that she's just rapping and stuff all the time. Of course, we get some rapping here, but can't win them all. But what we get is a very strong throwback to the history of country music and how, yes, it was shaped by black artists. That's why I love this Renaissance type project that she's doing, where she's going back and reclaiming a lot of the music that we helped build, but was kind of just taken away or given away to other artists, to other cultures. No, player, get that back. She can do it better than anybody. And there's nothing really that she can't do vocally. I love this project. It's going to be one that's going to be very controversial, even among Beyonce fans. I know a lot of Beyonce fans who are just like, I don't really like it. It's not for me. But for me, in my house, I guess that includes the wife too, I enjoy this project immensely. A great effort. One of Beyonce's best albums in several years, in my opinion. Can't wait to see what Act 3 brings. I bet you it's a rock album. And speaking of rock albums, we are at album number 3 on our list, Lucky Day, Algorithm. Y'all know me, and if you know me, when you say Lucky Day, I say 4 words. Lucky Day, don't miss. And that man is still undefeated when it comes to albums. This album, Algorithm, reminds me so much of Miguel's album coming off of the Kaleidoscope album, where he decided to go rock and people were just freaked out and they were like, what is this? This is not what we were expecting. True, it's not what we were expecting. But just because you weren't expecting it doesn't mean it wasn't dope. This album, again, is dope. He's able to take those rock elements, those electric guitars, and just that mindset and that energy and put it toward his usual R&B themes. Of course, the album's not all that. We got some traditional Lucky on the second half of the album. But it's just such a soulfulness. Some of his music, like Diamonds and Teal, is just beautiful. It sounds like a movie soundtrack to me. And he's able to have songs like Soft and Hurricane, 2 of my favorites of the year, that expound on that energy that he brings, that rock feel that gives him a different side of the project we've seen before. Again, give me something new. I like new. It works for me. So, yet another win from Lucky. MVP of the year, DeMille, who always is one of the best R&B producers of this moment. Dude is just moving forward. I cannot think of a Lucky project that falls off because, what did I say? Lucky Day, don't miss. He didn't miss because I will proclaim Algorithm the best R&B project of 2024. It's that good. Shouldn't be surprised though. I told you the man don't miss. And in at number 2, you knew it had to be here somewhere. The Crown Prince of 2024, Kendrick Lamar, GNX. When we look back at 2024, we will look at this as the year of Kendrick because it was the year where the sleeping giant was awoken. And it's so funny that people keep saying like, oh, I can't believe this. Like, where you been for the past 10 years? This is the Kendrick we've always known. If you've never thought that he was like one of the best of his generation, we were proving it this year. He goaded the best rappers of his generation into a battle. One smartly got out of Dodge because he knew what was going to happen. The other one was an egomaniac and got murdered for it. Rightfully so. It's time to be humble. Beyond that, we had the pop-out concert. We had the world tour that's coming. We had the announcement that he's going to be headlining the Super Bowl halftime show. This guy can't lose, and then he caps off the year with this album. I know his previous album, Mr. Morale, was not as accepted as I thought it should have been. I think it's one of his best projects. I gave it 5 stars. A lot of people don't get it. I feel like it's one of those albums that in 5-10 years, once you get some wisdom on you, you're going to be like, okay, this album speaks to me differently. But what this album is a perfect album for the perfect time because it is nothing but banger on banger on banger. That's what his audience wanted. After coming off that successful run of back-breaking diss records, people wanted more of that. They wanted that energy. They wanted that West Coast vibe. They wanted that cockiness. They wanted Kendrick to just rampage. And that's what this album is. And make no mistake, he has songs like The Heart Part 6, which may end up being one of my favorite Kendrick songs of all time, where he is more introspective and that Kendrick that I know and love. But then he's just got songs where he's just going absolutely nuts. And like TV Off has given DJ Mustard his whole new DJ tag now. Just drop that mustard and he's good to go. What a year for Kendrick. What an album. I will say this though, before we move on. As an album itself, if we were ranking Kendrick's albums, I actually would put this near the bottom of his discography. Not because it's bad, clearly, because it's number 2 on this list, but because it lacks a lot of the narrative cohesiveness that most of his albums are known to have. So it's just like, almost like a mixtape. It's like, here's just a bunch of dope songs. But even a weak Kendrick Lamar album is enough to beat nearly every album in 2024. That's why he's an MVP of 2024. That's why he is the greatest rapper of his generation. But there was one album even better. And coming in at number 1, yes, the album that I recognize as the best of the best, Rhapsody, Please Don't Cry. I've talked before about Che Noir. I talked about Dolce. To me, along with the whole Kendrick thing, 2024 has been the year of my eyes that female MCs, women rappers, are proving that they can be more than just a template of that one other lady. Like, you can do more and you can create at the highest level. And you know, it's fine. If you want to do that, that's cool. But that's not all that has to be brought to the table. Because we got an album that was very, very focused on a theme and just proving that she is not to be trifled with. Please Don't Cry is, I don't know, it's almost pulling at my heartstrings. There's a narrative going through it of a woman that's going through some difficult things in her life. She's seeing stuff like her grandmother struggle with dementia, and she's worried that one day she's not going to remember who I am. Those are important themes that people can relate to, man or woman, but coming from a female perspective, it's going to hit harder for women listeners. And of course, it's Rhapsody. So she is rapping like a maniac. She is so confident in who she is. And yeah, she doesn't have the Ninth Wonder connection on this album as she usually does. And that gives her a slightly different sound than usual. But it doesn't mean it's a whack sound, because she still has so much presence and confidence in her delivery that she's able to kind of just keep giving us what we want. In terms of 2024, this may be a controversial statement, but Rhapsody is 1998 Lauryn Hill, the rap version, just the hip hop version. She's delivering her bars at that level. It's the storytelling at that level. It's the thoughtfulness at that level. It's the inspiration that I think she is going to give other black women specifically who listen to this music just like they did Lauryn. Again, no shade to others who do something different, but this is the music in 2024 that we need. And it's funny. I don't even consider this to be Rhapsody's best project. I think Layla Wisdom's a little bit stronger. Eve is probably a little bit stronger, but it's still such an incredible achievement. An achievement so strong that I hereby declare it the best album of 2024. Rap, you deserved it. You were able to beat Kendrick. You were able to beat all of your peers just by doing what you do best. We love you for it. Alright, y'all, that's it. We are wrapping it up. We made it through the 25 best albums of the year. Now, before you run into comments and wish me death, make sure you visit soulandstereo.com. If your favorite album didn't make this list, it may have made the full list over on Soul and Stereo. You can check that out. That'll be there. You can always check the links to see if you can get your favorite album on that list, if it made it on the joint there. And if it didn't make it there, I'm sorry. I listened to 239 albums. It just didn't make it. But this is your time. Drop your comments in below. Let me know which albums you thought were the best of the year. Did you think Kendrick should have deserved number 1? If you did, I can't hate. If you think, I don't know, some others should make the list, that's cool. This is your opportunity to do it. And of course, be sure to share, be sure to like, and be sure to share this post with the music lover in your life. Putting them on to the good stuff. If there are any albums here that you haven't heard or you're just not familiar with, beg y'all, check them out. Make sure you do that, because we're here to support the good hip-hop, the good R&B, the good gospel, and yes, I'll throw the pop girl some love too when they drop something that dope. Shout out to Sabrina. Don't kill me, y'all. That album was dope. And before we go, we're wrapping up yet another year here on the Soul and Stereo Sessions. I cannot believe that this channel has grown to the amount that it has. When I first came to my boy D Roth and we decided to do this, I was like, we'll do it for a few months. We'll see what's good. But it's really grown into its own community. I'm so happy to have you. If you're here and you want to see more, you can always go to soulandstereo.com. You can go to the Soul and Stereo Cypher on Facebook, where we talk about this stuff 24/7 with a bunch of music fans like yourself. And for those who celebrate, make sure you have a happy holiday. I'll be back in January to holler at you. This edition of the Soul and Stereo Sessions is a wrap. I'll see you ho-ho-hos later. Play on, players. See you in 2025.